White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on the Biden White House's use of the autopen and the scandal in hiding his cognitive issues. The House Oversight investigation revealed its use of the autopen was much more widespread than previously known. At least 3 different autopen signatures were used throughout the Biden presidency. They were labeled as autopen A, B, and C. The third and newly discovered version used to sign hundreds of proclamations. President Trump seeming to put a name on the autopen's face this week. Watch.
We're moving murderers out of our country that were put here by Biden or the autopen. The autopen really did. I mean, the people, whether it's Lisa Monaco or whoever operated the autopen, these are criminals. The people are criminals that allowed these criminals into our country. And I don't think that Biden knew what the hell he was doing. Many of those people that you saw on television last night are criminals that were allowed into our country by Biden. And they want to stay. And we don't want them. And they come from jails, and they come from mental institutions, and they come from all over the world, not just South America.
Well, it's all quite extraordinary. The House Oversight Committee is investigating the cover-up of Biden's cognitive decline as 4 former Biden aides agreed to transcribed interviews. Joining me now is the man overseeing it all, Kentucky Congressman and the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. Mr. Chairman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I want to get your take on something the president said this week, and that is saying we're looking into who was in control of the autopen, whether it be Lisa Monaco or someone else. Now, Lisa Monaco, of course, was the Deputy Attorney General. What do you know about this?
Well, we know that there are sources that say that she had a big impact on making decisions as to which documents would be placed into the autopen. What we've identified first are the 4 employees that we believe manually put documents into the autopen, pressed the power button, and signed Joe Biden's name on them. Next batch of people that we're going to bring in are people like Ron Klain, and we'll get to the names that the president has mentioned as well. Everyone that we've sent notice to that we expect them to testify has agreed to testify thus far, except the doctor, and I've subpoenaed him. You can come in voluntarily, and things work out a whole lot better than if you have to come in via subpoena. So I think this investigation is progressing, and all the concerns that President Trump raised will be addressed in these transcribed interviews and depositions.
I mean, I've got the letter from 2024 from Dr. O'Connor pertaining to Joe Biden's health, and there's absolutely no mention of any cognitive decline, and there's no mention of any prostate cancer, which, of course, the Bidens released and told the public after the Robert Hur tapes were released, which was obviously a tape showing Biden's cognitive decline. I want to get your take on that and what you make of that, and also this new information that we've got, that there were 3 different autopens, autopen A, B, and C.
Yeah, that's accurate. And, you know, there's more information that's coming out daily. Luckily, we have a lot of former employees like Jean-Pierre who are coming out with books and interviews that are kind of painting a picture that Joe Biden really didn't know what was going on in his White House. This is important to our investigation because there were a lot of executive orders that were signed using the autopen. There's really no excuse to use the autopen on days when you're in the White House. Many of the documents that were signed with the autopen were days that Joe Biden was actually in the White House. It's hard to explain that with respect to the doctor. If you'll remember, Joe Biden did an interview several years ago and said he had cancer. The White House quickly issued a statement saying, he misspoke. Now, how many people do you know in the history of the world that have misspoke saying they had cancer when they really didn't? So, there's evidence out there that would suggest that there's been a cover-up with respect to his cancer for many years, just based on Joe Biden's own words. So we've got a lot of evidence. There's more and more sources that are coming forward. The key to a good congressional investigation, Maria, is having whistleblowers. I don't know if you would classify Jean-Pierre and people like Buttigieg as whistleblowers, but they're issuing statements and doing interviews that are very incriminating to Joe Biden, very incriminating to Joe Biden's doctor, and raise a lot of questions as to who was authorizing the use of that autopen.
Well, I mean, Mr. Chairman, for 4 years, we all questioned some of these policies coming out of the White House that were so clearly anti-American. For example, leaving a wide open border. and an unvetted border, rather than actually understanding and knowing who's coming into the country. Millions of gotaways, 350 people encountered on the terrorist watch list. $7 trillion in spending leading to 40-year high inflation. Do you believe that there was a group of people who were actually pushing these anti-American policies and Joe Biden was unaware of it?
I believe it's very possible. If you look at Joe Biden's career, when he was on the Senate floor, he gave speeches, encouraging a border, a tight border. He encouraged, a process to get immigration. But when he became president, just out of the blue, the autopen started signing executive orders that would allow an open border. And you have liberals in the Democrat Party that have risen the ranks through the bureaucracies here in Washington, D.C., that believe that we need to fundamentally change the appearance of America, that America's too white, that we need more immigrants to come in. We need more people that would end up being registered Democrats. That's a fact. So the possibility is there that there were deep state bureaucrats in the White House that were just using that autopen to sign major legislation and major executive orders that Joe Biden had no knowledge of and never would have supported if you look at his previous 3 decades of public service.
Now, that's just incredible. I mean, just to be clear, I think most people would say they support lots of diversity and different ethnicities in America. What I'm really talking about is an unvetted situation in a world where China is on the march, Iran is on the march, and Russia is invading countries. You want to know that there aren't terrorists coming in, and you've got 350 people on the terrorist watch list who were encountered at the open border. But let me switch gears and get your take on what's happening this morning and this week. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz all testifying today about their immigration and sanctuary policies and how they've affected Americans. Mr. Chairman, you're leading the hearing. What shall we expect here?
Well, we're going to see where these governors stand on whether or not they're going to work with the Trump administration to deport the criminal illegals. What we have found is there are sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. The 3 governors who will be present today represent 3 of those states that have openly objected and disrupted Tom Homan and the Homeland Security and ICE's efforts to deport the criminal illegals. They're not sharing information. They're not cooperating with ICE in the deportation of the criminal illegals. This is very serious. We believe this is a crime if they do not cooperate with the federal authorities. The American people spoke with respect to the border and with respect to deporting the criminal illegals. This is President Trump's agenda. He campaigned on it. He was very transparent. He's done a very good job of securing the border. The next phase is deporting the bad guys that got across the border while Joe Biden was president. And we found that there's opposition in these 3 states to that effort to deport those criminal illegals. So we're going to talk about that today. It'll probably be about a 7-hour committee hearing. Hopefully we'll get answers, and hopefully this will give the Trump administration direction on how to move forward in these 3 states.
All right, we'll be watching your work. Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.